Okay, so here we go. We are going to start the skull drawing. Now, the first assignment, like I said in class, is the proportion box and the envelope. That's our first assignment. That's what this first demo is. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Now, the proportion box should be super simple for all of you at this point because it's no different than doing a proportion box on the diamond, the half circle, the star, those figure exercises in the packet, etc. No different. First thing we do is find what's the furthest thing maybe on the left. I would say that these teeth. Furthest thing on the top, I'd say the top of the head. Furthest thing to the right is the back of the head. And the furthest thing on the bottom, with a weird stretch here, is the bottom of the chin. So we know how big our overall drawing needs to be. So let's first find this left line. I'm going to measure to the edge of the teeth and the edge of the paper, come up to the top, draw a dot, go to the bottom, draw a dot. This should be very repetitive. What's that word I'm looking for? Repetitive for you because we've done this so many times already. Now I connect the dots. And I noticed something. What did I notice? That the teeth were not the furthest thing. So should I draw the line and cut the nose off? No. I should reassess, not use the teeth, erase those marks. Now we'll use the nose. This is a lesson for you. Don't just go with a mistake. Don't just say, oh, I'll fix it later. Fix it now so it saves problems from happening later. So let's start that over. Go from the nose. Measure over. It's not that much of a difference, but it's different. Measure over. Draw the line, connect the dots. Again, my reach is really hard over this camera, so I apologize if I'm a little shaky. There we go. Now I'm going to do the right side. Measure from the edge of the paper to the back of the skull. Go to the top, edge of the paper, make a mark. Bottom of the paper, make a mark. Draw my line. Come across to the top, measure from the edge of the paper to the top of the skull. Come across, I can mark, measure on the paper, mark right on my line there. Mark right on my line here, connect the dots. Then I'll do the same thing at the bottom from the chin, from the edge of the paper. I'll mark right on my line here, edge of the paper, right on my line there, connect the dots. It should be super simple for you at this point. Oh. Again, I'm sorry, I'm a little shaky. Reaching around the camera's tough. So, from here, I don't want to go in right away and start doing my envelope. I want to redraw the proportion box on my paper. That's the first thing I want to do. So I'm going to take, and now this stretch is pretty far, so I want to go close to my left edge because I'm going to draw this line first. And I want it to go about maybe this far from the edge of my paper. So I'm going to measure at the top, same distance at the bottom. Connect those lines. Again, you should be drawing light on this side. There we go. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to measure the total width of this whole box. The total width. I don't measure from the right side of the paper and come across and do that because it's going to make it too wide. I'm going to measure the total width. That's how wide the whole thing is. I'm going to come across from this line to the right. Make a mark. This line to the right. make a mark, connect them. Now some of you have been just taking your ruler and going across like this on the other one. That kind of works, but I'm not a huge fan of that because I don't feel like it makes it as accurate enough. So I'm gonna go from the edge of the paper and I'm gonna go down about to where I see that. It's gonna be that far. Make a mark, edge of the paper over here, make a mark. Now, to finish, I go my total height. From this mark or this line down, make a mark. From this line down, make a mark. Connect them. And there's my proportion box. This box and this box should be equal. Very simple. Very, very simple. Okay, so now I have to create an envelope. Now I have to create an envelope. So I want to go around and all the parts of the skull that are hitting the proportion box, I definitely want to use those as anchor points for my envelope. So let's look at this first one. And again, you're going to have these lined drawings, the examples on your Schoology page. Let's go from the nose straight up through so it touches this part of the forehead and goes through into the other part of the notional or the proportion box. Remember, a construction line must hit the proportion box in 2 spots. So there's my first construction line. Now, do I go and draw another one here? No. I want to repeat that over here. Every time I draw a construction line on the left, I repeat it on the right. So I measure the distance down. Come over, make a mark. Measure the distance over. Come over, make a mark, connect those lines. Again, you should be drawing light. I'm going to say this to the point where it annoys you. I'm drawing dark so you can see it, but you should be drawing light over here. All right, there's our first construction line. Let's go for our second. We're just going to go around. We're going to go from here. Remember, we want to draw these points where the skull is hitting the proportion box. And I'm going to go straight through across here. Now you're going to see that the skull protrudes a little above that line. That's okay. That's okay. You don't want it a lot, but that's okay. So now I'm going to mark this construction line. There we go, there's number 2. We're gonna go for number 3 right around here. We're gonna again start where it touches. Right through. Connect those two. Then we're just going to continue. We're going to go straight through here. I like this real long line, so we're going to go through that. It's not quite to here, but that nice long line sits on that construction line. It's okay if your construction lines aren't like on the exact millimeter of a spot where I make them. You want them to be as close as possible, but as long as your construction lines from here are the same over here, that's one of the big things that's important. There we go. Let's move over to the front now. We're gonna go back to the nose, straight through the front of these teeth, straight down. And in fact, I'm gonna hit the front of this chin. That's a nice anchor point, which means I go through that tooth a little, and that's okay. So we can use this same point, measure over, there we go. Now, let's go up this jaw. That's a nice straight line. Simple, it's just repeating these steps. That's what a lot of drawing is. Repeating steps and procedures. A little shaky. There's that. And I think that's where we're gonna leave our envelope. There's one last thing I have to do. One last thing I have to do. And if you do this while you're drawing your envelope, that's fine. I wanna go through and I wanna erase the parts that I don't need. I know I don't need this line anymore. I know I don't need this part of this line or this part or that part. So I want to erase those parts, those little sections that I don't need anymore. Again, if you're drawing lightly, these should erase with ease. Mine aren't because I want to make sure that you can see it on the camera. And there we go. That is our envelope and our proportion box. So that's our first assignment for this skull drawing.